Hey everyone, Mark here from Gen 3. In today's video, I will be exploring and sharing with you guys Ripplecraft. So let's dive right into it. So what is Ripplecraft? Craft is an interactive CLI tool for building and testing WASM modules for XRP Ledger. What is that good for? Why do you want to build and test WASM modules for the XRP Ledger? So WASM or WebAssembly, it is the planned runtime for Ripple's proposed uh, programmability extensions for the XRP Ledger. So it's basically going to be smart contracts on the XRPL. And using this CLI tool is going to be really helpful in order for us to write smart escrows and then eventually smart contracts on the XRP Ledger. So let's go and dive right into it. Okay, so we will need this repo. This is actually a Rust repo, if I'm not mistaken. So let's just go through what we need. So first we need to check out this repo, obviously. So we will go ahead and open it on GitHub desktop. It's just the way I prefer working with Git and GitHub. So if I clone this again, so I have a fresh copy of the repo on my computer. And now I can open it in Visual Studio Code. Then I will put it over here. Now this is a fresh copy and we will have to install dependencies. So if we go back into the documentation, so we'll go to installation and we'll go through the requirements first. So first is that it needs Rust cargo. It comes with Rust. We won't be going to Docker because we won't be needing to run RippleD on our computer. We will be using the remote DevNet in order to eventually submit WASM code to the DevNet ledger. So we do not need the RippleD for now. For now, all we need to do is to be able to build WebAssembly binaries using Rust and using this craft CLI tool. So let's get right into it. Okay, so now what I usually do is that I am on Windows, but in my experience using the Windows operating system to build and use Rust and CLI tools written on Rust, it's kind of iffy on Windows. So what I do is I use Windows Subsystem for Linux, so WSL. So the way I do that is that I already have this in VS Code, and I have a fresh WSL here, 22.04. So if you're on Mac or if you're on Linux, you don't have to complicate yourself or your setup with this kind of thing. All right, so going back to installing, we will need to install Rust. So we'll just go ahead and search how to install Rust on Ubuntu, because that's what we have on our computer. So Rust for Ubuntu. Install Rust. Okay, so Rust actually has something for Windows subsystem for Linux, which is just this command. If you're on Mac or Linux, just do the normal way, however you do it on Mac and Linux. So if we go back here, let me just close this one. Okay. And then it's going to download the installer and install Rust for us. Okay, proceed with standard installation. Okay, now Rust is installed. It says that, yeah, the Rust binaries will need to be loaded into our current shell. So we can just go ahead and close these. And then I'll reopen it. And I should be able to run the cargo command. And yes, that worked. The next thing we'll need, though, is I forget the name of that library, but I know we need to install a libssl dev library, which is not included by default on Ubuntu server. So without this libssl dev library, the craft compilation will fail because it requires that library. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, if we go sudo apt install lib ssl-dev, yep, I think that's the one, or maybe not. Maybe we need to call something like sudo apt update. Yeah, and then we do sudo apt upgrade, I think. Yeah, you can see that this is quite a fresh Linux installation. And we'll just let it continue and finish. Shouldn't take long. Okay, great. That's done. Let's see if it will let us install this library. Perfect. There we go. So now I think we're ready to build the craft CLI tool. And we do that by using this command. I think, yeah, let's check the documentation. And yeah, using this command, cargo install dash dash path. So if you do that, install dash dash path dot. Okay, great. Now this Rust project is now compiling. All right, so it turns out we need a bit more developer software or developer packages than just libSSL dev. So we'll go ahead and install this package, sudo apt install build essential. So yes. Okay, perfect. Now let's see if it will let us compile Ripplecraft CLI tool. Yep, I think that fixed it. But yeah, we will just have to wait quite a bit. Oh, wait, do we have more errors? Maybe not. It's just, oh yeah, we have more errors. Okay, so I think we're still missing one more package. So let's try to do this, sudo apt install pkg config. I think we already installed this, libSSL/div ssl. Yes. Yeah. And then let's try cargo clean. And then we can do that compilation again. Okay, hopefully third time's the charm. I think that did it. So I think we need three um, tools before compiling the craft CLI tool. We will need build essential, pkg config, and libSSL dev. I think that's it. Yeah, we are compiling craft right now. And I'll probably pause it at this point because, you know, Rust is notorious for really slow compilation times. Oh, wait, it just finished. All right, I think I've stalled enough. So, okay, that worked, and we now have craft compiled on our computer. But yeah, I just need to repeat that we need three packages. So the three packages that we need are build essential, pkg config, and then libSSL/dev. Cool. So if you're in Ubuntu or any Debian-based system, you just go sudo apt-y build essential, you know, all the three libraries, and you should be good to go. Cool. Now we can move on. Let's see. All right, now that we have craft installed, we can now build WASM modules or WASM runtime binaries that we can then eventually use for smart escrows or smart contracts. So the way Craft is structured, you put your Rust projects inside um, the projects folder. So for example, this KYC code here. So you put your pieces of code inside their own folders, and then you will then have your Rust code in there. So this is the Rust code for the KYC like module, right? So now if we go back to this one, we can actually, the CLI tool is actually very interactive. So if you just enter this command craft, once it's built, then you can just like pick and choose in the command line. So if we go back to VS Code and put it over there, and then I type craft. So look, this is like I always think of like interactive CLI tools as like a sign of a good project. So if you have stuff like this, like the CLI tool is interactive and you don't have to mess around with arguments and flags and all of that stuff. Yeah, this just makes life a lot easier. So for example, what we're really interested in is the build WASM module. So if we go to that, and then you can see each of the items that you can select here, right? Like in the subfolders of this projects folder. So let's say we want to build our KYC module, and then let's just say go ahead. Release, no optimization. Let's say aggressive optimization. And there we go. Oh no, WASM up. So it does need to install some things, but the nice thing about it is that Craft does it for you. All right, so if we go do that again, build WASM module, KYC, release, aggressive. Cool. Now, the WASM that we compiled is in this file. So if I just control click that, it's in binary, of course. So let's try and install this Rust crate. Cargo install wasm hex dump. So I do know that the older version of Craft had this step when you wanted to build a WASM module, that it asked you if you wanted to copy the hex export of the WASM module, but it seems to have disappeared and I can't seem to find it now. But let's see if this works. So let's see if we have the WASM hex dump. Okay, great, we do. Okay, maybe let's go into that folder then. KYC, target, WASM, release, ls. It's clearly there. All right, let's try this. So if we actually do this, wasm hex dump dash dash input kyc.wasm. Maybe we do this output kyc.hex. Oh, there you go. So now, all right, finally. So this is the actual output that we're looking for. We have now built our WASM module and we have it in hex format. And this is important because this is what we will be submitting to the XRP Ledger when we want to add our smart contracts and smart escrows into the XRP Ledger. That's about it for our exploration of the Craft CLI tool from Ripple. To summarize, what we did is that we downloaded this Craft repository from Ripple's GitHub, and then we installed the dependencies, what Craft needs before you can build it. So you will need Rust, and then you will also need this packages, and then that was the longest part of it. And then you will then have to compile the CLI tool, the Craft CLI tool, using Cargo. And once that's compiled, you can just then run the Craft command, and then you can build your WASM modules. And then finally, once that is done, you can export those WASM modules into hex format, which we will then submit to the XRP Ledger as part of smart escrows and smart contracts. And that we will be exploring in a future video. All right, sounds good. Thanks for watching, you guys, and I'll catch you all the next time. Peace.